Good afternoon, everybody. So, I got a call the other day about crawling fabric, and I think this is something many of us have dealt with just sewing dresses or any other kind of garment. It's probably a little more pronounced with some of the materials we use in vestment making. So I just wanted to address this a little bit and give you guys a couple tips that could possibly help you out. Sometimes when these kind of issues come up, I'm not sure what to say because I've been working with these materials for so long that the fixes, so to speak, are kind of second nature, and I don't think about it much. I just already know it's problematic and I work around it. So I wanted to address a couple of things right off the bat and maybe a couple of situations. So the first thing is when I have this issue, she says, I'm trying to make a Roman chasuble. The backing, of course, is canvas. In the front, she's doing a practice run, is a Dupioni and silk. And we all know that Dupioni silk is a little thinner, a little stretchier, so to speak. It's just a little more flimsy. So how do you get it to keep from puckering and crawling on you and all these different things? Okay, so one of them, with this particular situation, what I use are these 6-inch craft tweezers. They're awesome. I use them for doing my galloon turns. I use them for this situation. But what you can see here, and this is kind of the same situation, at least the technique, is I use my scissors to pull it straight, okay, like this, as I'm sewing it. My other video that I just did sewing the other side got deleted by accident, so I'm just going to show you how to do this left side. So a couple of things about this. If you're using a Dupioni or something that's striated, right, or that has a pattern to it, the last thing you want is this edge to be crawling down on you like this, like as you're sewing, that this presser foot's going to push it, and you don't want it crawling down on you, because then your Dupioni pattern, which is supposed to be nice and parallel like this, is suddenly going to look like that. And well, that looks wonky. So what I'm going to tell you is, if you're pushing it straight out like this, okay, it's going to keep it where it needs to be. Now, there's a chance that you could get a pucker out here somewhere where you sew it, like where it almost tucks it as you stitch over it. That's going to be fine, because if all of this area over here is straight, okay, like your Dupioni striations are straight, if that's all straight and flat, then your galloon, which is pretty wide, is going to cover up any tuck that might be there. You're never going to see it. What you're most concerned with, because I'm using like 1 1/8 galloon, it's going to come all the way up to here. So I need this space right here to be straight, not this space. And why would I have this loose fabric out here? Well, it's because of all this embroidery. That embroidery like pulls it in tight, and then what you're left with is everything around it coming out here to be a bit looser. So even though I back my stuff and I use lots of stabilizer and I do all the things, how you apply it's going to make a difference. You're going to have to really work to keep that fabric straight, especially if it's got a pattern or a striation on it. Keep it straight by pulling it over with your tweezers as it's going up under this presser foot. Another tip would be, if you're using a flimsier silk like this that tends to crawl on you, and you have something that's stiffer like a shantung, and you're trying to do, let's say, a Gothic stole, and you have these two pieces together, my advice would be to put the flimsier fabric, whichever that is, and you could be using two different materials, it doesn't matter. Whichever one is flimsier is the one you put on bottom, because what's going to happen is your presser foot pushes, and those feed dogs pull up underneath. They pull like this, they grab and pull. So if you put your flimsier one on bottom, it's naturally gonna grab instead of push. So if you put that flimsy on top, it's gonna keep pushing until the two fabrics are completely off from each other. And that's problematic. So when I'm doing a Gothic chasuble, when I'm doing a Gothic stole, anytime I'm putting the two fabrics together, I'm always putting that flimsier fabric on bottom, okay? The other thing you can do is hold it tight back here and as you sew, and tug gently. Like, we're not pulling it through the sewing machine, but we're holding some tension there so that flimsier fabric doesn't have the tendency to push. But that's going to keep your two, if you hold it here and here, see, like this, now look, everything's tight. You know, if I hold it in two different spots, now everything's tight, and I work with the machine to push it through. That's another mechanism I use, like a little tip and trick. But you can see how loose this is here on top. You see all these puckers? Those aren't going to be there. When you look at the other side, it was just as puckered. Now it looks wrinkly right here, but let's remember, all of that's going to be covered with galloon, and that's going to disappear. And the only thing you're going to see is what's right next to the embroidery, because all of this puckering is going to be covered up by our very wide galloon. So let's get to sewing this. Oh, and the tip I had in my other video, because I have to remember what I told you in that other video, is on this right side, of course, I sewed down. I don't go around and come back up this side because it's gonna make it wonky. So I go down on one side and I go down on the other side, okay? And that way everything is being pushed downward rather than, let's see, can I get that set up for you? Okay, rather than it being, so I've got this guy, I'm reaching around my camera here, and I'm gonna try this first to show you where I hold tight and I pull. It can be a little difficult to control because not everything wants to move. You can also just press your hand here and then hold tight back here. And this works pretty well. Now, I want to point out too that underneath my cross itself, I have a layer of poly cotton poplin. And it's just nice to have that back there. And I sew my galloon onto it. It really just holds the entire design upright so that over time it doesn't sag, given this is a little flimsier. And I put it all the way up into my shoulder seam. So it's holding it from the shoulder seam rather than from the fabric holding my Tau cross or my French cross straight up and down. So here we go. I'm gonna hold that. And see, I'm holding it tight back here. It's kind of hard to see. My angle isn't great. But you can see. Okay, so the other technique, it's a little more gentle than holding and pulling because that's not always going to work, is pushing. But I like the holding and pulling method quite a bit. And you can push it outward, and see, you've got no danger of hurting yourself. You can do this with your fingers as well, but you want to stay a little further away from, you want to try to stay further away from your your presser foot then. This can go right up. You know, you don't want to get too close to your needle because you'll snap a needle, and that would be a problem. But you see how it's, these bubbles that I'm dealing with here are kind of disappearing. So I don't like that. That's gonna give me a problem. So I'm gonna pull and hold tight here. There we go, because it's getting a little too loose for my liking. And now, see how that would cause a problem? It's very easy to see how this would cause a puckering issue. I don't like that at all. It's pushed too much. See, it's pushed, and now it's bubbling. It's bubbling here. So we're gonna take a couple stitches out here. No big deal. Nobody will ever know. We're gonna go back to our method here. It's a little tricky when you have this much looseness on the outside edge of your banding here. And see, now that's gonna tuck. This is gonna pucker on me here, but that's all right because this will be straight and this might tuck. But this will be straight. Looks like I pinned it too far upward. Because this is looking straight here, and then I have this weird bubble gathering at the bottom. That's fine, because luckily we're on a shantung. So going from that, we're just gonna have to cut a little bit off this bottom here, this bottom corner. Yeah, see, I don't like that little bubble there, but he's gonna work himself out. Most of the rest of it's been pretty grand. I didn't have any problems with the other side like this, so I just must have pinned this side funny, because it doesn't even look off. Like, look at that, it doesn't even really look off. So I must have got a little aggressive with pinning the bubbles in there, huh? Now, I don't go across this bottom. I leave that open so that when I iron it after this, I can push this down, and then that has the freedom to come down a little bit naturally. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you can utilize my little tweezer technique, and you can figure out a way to reduce your bubbling or the pushing of one fabric more than the other. I hope this was really helpful to all of you. Thanks.